welcome to the Legal Eagle. This week we have on the show former Solicitor General of India, one of the country's topmost lawyers, constitutional experts, a legal eagle and a senior advocate of the Supreme Court, Mr. Mohan Parasran. Mr. Parasran, as I welcome you on the show, I want to first take a look at your successful journey that started in 1985. You first did a BA Economics first class degree from the Madras University. You then did a Delhi University Bachelor's of Law degree, after which you went to Cambridge University for your Master's of Law. It started in 1985. Today that journey has been enormously successful. How would you describe it?
Yeah, in fact, I had a passion for law even since my school days, but since there was no one to guide, I actually took subjects like science, physics, chemistry and biology and mathematics in my school, and slightly swayed away. And in fact, initially I was very keen to join medicine, but being a member of the forward community, could not get admission into a medical college in spite of the fact that I had a good score in my school final, and I could only manage a BDS seat. Those days there were not many private medical colleges. There was only a government medical college, and of course I passed the IIT and then joined the Banaras Hindu University and was to do metallurgical engineering. Then somehow I think lost interest in that, and it was my mother's father who was also a lawyer and one of my maternal uncles who persuaded me to actually discontinue engineering and then get back into the stream of arts and then do law. Then actually I discontinued my IIT, joined BA Economics and got into law. That's how my journey into legal education began.
Yes. In fact, Mr. Parasran, you mentioned about being the ASG. I remember those days. You had been the Additional Solicitor General in India for 9 years. In 2013, you became the Solicitor General of India. When you took on the post at that time, sir, 2 SGs had just resigned. What do you think were the reasons in UPA 2 that 2 SGs had resigned? There was a lot of talk about in hush-hush circles about law officers, and you listed out how law officers had a lot of work that they had to do, whether it's the coal case, the 2G case and other cases where you were working with the revenue and the IT departments. What do you think could have possibly been the animosity, the atmosphere that could have led to 2 Solicitor Generals having to submit resignations, sir?
See, what I was thinking was, there was tremendous work pressure, during the UPA, and both Mr. Gopal Subramaniam and Mr. Rohinton Nariman were top class lawyers, were great lawyers. They had tremendous practice before they became Solicitor General. And they, in fact, I would say, sacrificed by accepting this office. Gopal, in fact, gave very, very frank advices to the government. Likewise, Mr. Rohinton Nariman also was indeed even more franker and forthright in his opinions. And, UPA was functioning with a lot of coalition pressures. And sometimes I think there were some differences with the executive, and both, in my own perception, were highly sensitive because they can't take even a little bit of, I think, insult and or pressure. And I think because of the Ram Setu matter, there were some differences which I think also got unnecessary publicity in the press, which led to Mr. Gopal Subramaniam's resignation. Likewise, Mr. Rohinton Nariman also, there was some, I think, unnecessary exchange between him and the law minister which was published. And possibly he did not want to precipitate. He thought it is best way is to get out of the office. And he made a dignified exit, I would call. And both of them actually, said to their credit, never made any statement against the government while quitting. They maintained the highest dignity even while quitting office.
After he accused former AG Vahanvati of trying to influence the CBI probe and making him a scapegoat in the controversy, it was an ugly spat that was out in the open. What really happened? You had a meeting with the Prime Minister at that time. I remember interviewing you. You were extremely frank about what had happened, because we remember there was a draft report of the CBI that had been looked at, and former ASG Harin Rawal said he'd been made the scapegoat.
No, see, Harin was also appearing in that matter, and possibly I think there were some policy differences between Harin, and he thought that I think his position became untenable. Therefore, again keeping with the highest traditions, Harin Rawal resigned. But I should actually point out one thing. See, I think you also interviewed me at that point of time, and it appeared as though I went against the then Law Minister, Mr. Ashwini Kumar.
I did, sir.
Ashwini Kumar. See, there was a widespread speculation, or news channels were actually portraying as though Mr. Ashwini Kumar was waiting the report of the CBI to be presented in the Supreme Court, and the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, was a party to it. See, this actually, I was also appearing in the matter before the Supreme Court. See, I was very deeply concerned as a law officer, because the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice Lodha, had already actually castigated the government by saying that the CBI has virtually become a caged parrot. So, when that being so, how can the law minister, being part of the executive,
I remember, that's right,
vet the report of the CBI or the affidavit of the CBI to be filed before the Supreme Court? Then actually we will be actually ransacked by Supreme Court, no? And the Prime Minister was absolutely keeping a distance. I personally knew, because myself and the Attorney General used to have meetings with Mr. Pulok Chatterjee, the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, and sometimes with the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister never actually for once involved the CBI at all. He used to only speak from his point of view. And he always used to say that he kept a safe distance. He was never personally involved in any of these matters. And I had to actually come out strongly by saying that if the law minister had done that, then that was not proper. Later on, I also came to know that I think Mr. Ashwini Kumar had kept a safe distance, because he is also a very experienced bureaucrat, experienced politician, and he was also a leading lawyer. He became, in fact, an youngest law officer, a youngest additional Solicitor General of India.
Sir, the Cole case, like you said, was one case that caught the attention of the entire nation. I remember the caged Paris comment. I remember how the Prime Minister had spoken with you, had spoken with AG Vahanvati at that time. I now want to shift focus to a case that had also been catching the nation's attention, and this time it was not for a year or for a decade, but this has been going on in the national memory for many decades. I would say for century, in fact, the Ayodhya case. You've been a very important part of it. Now rules and regulations for the trust, the Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust office is at your place, at your office. The trust's residence is the same place as your office. It's a very auspicious thing. You're also drafting, sir, the rules and regulations. You've been a very important lawyer for them. And in the court, when the battle was won before the 5-judge constitution bench, even as Mr. K. Parasaran had appeared, I remember he started off with some very strong words, Mother and motherland are greater than the heavens above. As I ask you about two things, his routine, sir, when he was appearing in this case, I also ask you, how did you personally tackle the onslaught of comments that came when Kapil Sibal also, we remember in 2017, had tried every trick in the book to have this matter delayed to after Lok Sabha elections? Chief Justices of India were threatened. Then other lobby lawyers had threatened to walk out. At sometimes pages were torn. Everything was seen in this cage, Mr. Parasaran, and you were at the very center of it. However, we all stood firm, you stood firm, and a victory in the Ayodhya case was seen.
See, all credit should go to the team led by my father, Mr. K. Parasaran, and he was actually ably assisted by Mr. Ranjit Kumar, former Solicitor General, Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, who also did the lead arguments. Actually, father argued mainly legal issues, but Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan took on his shoulders and argued all the factual aspects of the matter for days together. And these arguments are so brilliant, and he actually prepared so many charts to explain the factual intricacies of the case. Mr. Ranjit Kumar, Mr. P.S. Narasimha, and we had a wonderful team of lawyers. And I was also assisting father because I had a duty in this matter, because I am more than assisting father, I am a close ardent devotee of Lord Ram from my childhood. Therefore, naturally, I was part and parcel of the matter. And Mr. Parasaran Senior has a unique approach to all matters in which he has appeared throughout his life. He never gets ruffled. He actually tries to win over his opponents by his conduct both inside and outside the court. And he cares more for the opponent. He respects the opponent. If there is merit in the argument of the opponent, he is the first person to raise up and praise that. And even if very pungent words are spoken by people, he will stay quiet. He will only say that people will forget by passage of time. You just sit down, don't complicate it. So that was the approach of the entire team, So he had advised the team to just keep shut. And that strategy paid off. And you would have seen many photographs, Mr. Senior Parasaran and Mr. Rajiv Dhawan are the greatest of friends, even now. Even though there was acrimony in court, outside court, they were moving like elder and younger brothers. And it was not a drama. It is actually, even now, they move with great emotions. They have the highest respect for each other. In private, even now, Mr. Parasaran has got a very, very great regard for Mr. Rajiv Dhawan. So that is the reason, the case did not go out of control, nor there was any ugly fight in court. Ultimately, even after the judgment has come, we thought there will be lots of problems, violence, etc. But the entire country has accepted it. No?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is not only a victory in the court, sir. That is the victory of India. That is the beauty of our system that this has happened. And that's why a huge congratulations to your team and you. Sir, I also want to ask you, we've been very curious about one secret of yours. When it comes to your personal equations across business lines, whether it's Ratan Tata, a business tycoon, or whether it's Mukesh Ambani, they consult you, they trust you. Across political lines, I speak to different political parties and everybody is extremely fond of you. They come to you for advice. How do you maintain this balance? What is that one secret that you have that everybody comes to you, trusts you and believes you are their complete friend?
So I personally feel, see, if you take a top class doctor, say a heart surgeon or a neurosurgeon, see, he is not a politician. He does not belong to the Congress nor the BJP. And he treats everybody alike. No? And likewise, I am not a politician. And whoever comes, we advise them very, very sincerely. And we only talk about their case. And we don't talk about their enemies. And we talk with them pleasantly. We are business-like and try to deliver goods by working hard. Because in our profession, I would only point out that nothing pays like hard work. It's only 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. That has been, I think, the secret of success. That's the advice which my late grandfather, a doyen of the Madras Bar, told me when I got enrolled. And if that is going to be your approach, people trust you. No?
Absolutely. Sir, my last question to you is going to be on a lighter note. You're extremely fond of classical music. You have extremely busy days. You begin with a religious prayer. Where do you find time to do your riyaz?
See, it's actually part of me. No? Classical music is actually part of me. Whenever actually I am free, whenever I travel in car or whenever I travel in flight, I have actually a huge set of recordings in my iPhone. I also have it in my iPad. Therefore, it's all thousands of songs. No? And not only Carnatic songs, I am very fond of Carnatic songs. I have Hindustani, also general world music, and I switch on instrumental music. So that actually gives you a lot of relaxation, and you also learn lots of things from listening to music. No? In fact, if you listen to Carnatic music, sometimes you also learn some intricacies of religion. Likewise, even Hindustani or Sufi music, you learn so many things, our culture. And it's not the question of finding time, it's a question of one's own interest. No? You always have time for everything, I say, particularly during this COVID times. Fortunately, I think your travel time is completely restricted. You are at home and it's only home office, and therefore you only appear in court sitting at your office, and you get definitely free time, at least 2 to 3 hours of free time. So that actually gives you a lot of time to indulge in listening to music or going for walks. No?
Yes, that's right, sir. Sir, as we thank you for being a part of the Legal Eagle and being on the show, I would try to say and end by telling everyone watching the show, you've been extremely candid, brilliant as always, very inspiring us by telling us how one should be hardworking, extremely simple, and most importantly, you've told us to be on the positive side of being at home during COVID. Thank you, Mr. Parasaran, for being our Legal Eagle this week. See you, viewers, next week.